hey, and thank you for clicking play. Back in the day, it's no secret that I had an Amiga 500 Batman pack, just like the one sitting in front of me now, that I absolutely still adore. But the truth is, as you all know, I then upgraded to a used 386 DX because I couldn't afford a 486 DX is the reality, and that looked much like this. Yep, in all its DOS and Windows 3.1 glory. Mine was actually an Amstrad, but this will suffice for the comparison to see what would have happened in an alternate timeline if instead I'd have upgraded to one of these. An Amiga 1200. And for the purposes of this comparison, this has been stripped of its 030 accelerator and its extra 128 meg of RAM. So other than a compact flash hard drive, which I've reduced to, in all honesty, it's 40 meg in size, the hard drive. It's an 8 gig compact flash card, but it's got 40 meg available in the partition. Other than that, this has 2 meg of RAM, the standard chip RAM, and it just has the floppy drive, and it has the standard 020 CPU. And this is going to be a very specific comparison. So when I did jump to my PC, to my Amstrad 386 DX, there were some very specific games that I started off my PC gaming life with, and those are Prince of Persia, Gunship 2000, Frontier Elite 2, and Pinball Fantasies. Okay, so first up, let's have a look at the PC, and we're in Windows. This is actually Windows 3.11. My Amstrad came with an Amstrad branded version of Windows 3, but the guy that sold it to me gave me a backup copy of Windows 3.1, and Windows 3.11 is really just the workgroups version of the same thing. So let's run with that. And just to explain why you're no longer seeing me with my traditional headphones on is because I don't want the phone doing any noise cancelling. I want the phone microphone picking up the speakers, and so those are the tones we're used to from a PC, right? Wrong. Because first and foremost, let's get out of this, because nobody played games in Windows back then, apart from Solitaire. So let's get out of Windows first of all. And the fact is, my PC, when I first got it, didn't have a sound card. And that was the first thing, that was the first big surprise. So let's get into the first game test, which is Prince of Persia. And before I hit this, those of you that have seen my previous video where I was fumbling about with my internal speaker, the internal speaker is now just basically, you'll see I've replaced this, the blanker for the secondary 3.5 inch drive bay here is basically, I've pushed the hard drive that's behind that further back. I've dropped the 0.75 watt speaker down into the cavity. It's just sitting there loose. And this is a piece of gutter guard, something we use in Australia to keep leaves out of our gutters. Nice metal grid to act as a speaker grill. It's just shoved in there. This is ghetto, but it does the job, as hopefully we're about to hear. Because this is set up 100% to give us nothing but PC speaker farts and beeps. This is how I first experienced PC gaming, because I didn't have a sound card. I was using a second-hand machine, and this is the first game I got my hands on. So this was a pirate copy, handed to me by a youth leader, funnily enough. Let's just have a quick look at the first level. And look, this is the only way I would want to play this. I never remember getting this working on a sound card either. Forgot you'd been a hold on to the edge of the ledge, but that's fine. Oh no! Oops. That's enough of that. That's actually enough to give me a good indication and a good reminder of what it's like to play Prince of Persia through the PC speaker. And it's no real surprise that the first game is not hard drive installable for the Amiga. So it's after my dodgy floppy, because we're going to have to boot from floppy disk, followed by a 3-finger salute, followed by a 2-finger salute on the mouse, because being an older game, we're going to have to disable the CPU cache on the A1200 to allow this to play. We're fine. Paula, compared to a PC fart box, there's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison. And that's why I was so confused when I got my PC and realised it was so crap until you added an extra expense of adding a sound card. Oh. Wonderful. Right, let's have a quick play, just see how it compares. And as far as I'm concerned, apart from it's not cursor keys, it's for some reason it's numeric keypad, which is a bit odd. Didn't lose health there this time. This is where I died last time, after picking up the sword, granted. Is it shift? No, it's not. How do I... No. How do I sneak? Oh, fuck! Oh, okay, I died. But I died very quick. But at the end of the day, from as far as I can tell, and obviously this is an earlier game, and it's not an AGA game, this is the same as the PC version, only the sound is better, especially when you compare it to PC beeps. Yeah, graphics all look the same to me. The game is essentially exactly the same. Runs nice and smooth, looks beautiful, sounds fantastic. Okay, the next game I remember getting for my PC was actually a legitimate game, but purchased second-hand off a mate of mine called Nick, and that was this. Gunship 2000 by Micropros, and I was a very big fan of Micropros simulators on the Amiga, and Gunship specifically on the Amiga as well. Gunship 2000 was the title I got my hands on. Intro. Let's skip past that. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to play a mission. I won't show you the whole mission, but just to get a feel for how this game plays on the PC. The sound on that PC speaker. It's actually fairly choppy. Choppy. That was not intended. Everything's fine. Everything's not fine. But you get an idea of the graphics. Let's enable the sound card and give that another go. It was inevitable, wasn't it? Okay, clearly we got the nice tones, we got the music. This comparison's not necessarily going to go the way I thought. Let's see how it pans out.
Target right.
Oh no, we're right. Okay, so that's what the engine sounds like. To remember to engage your rotors, and that's a bit different. That's handled a bit different from the Amiga version, as we'll see. Right, let's do the same fly around.
Target front. Target left.
I must say the PC speaker didn't do a bad job of those digitized voices. See if I can get through it this time. And notice this is perfect flat shade. Ooh, watching my altitude here, get in the red. And we're through. We could get a mission, but you know, we could go and try and find some objectives, but we get the idea. It's a flight sim. That's how it plays. That's the kind of frame rate we're dealing with. It's a bit choppy. Again, no pun intended. But it was a fantastic game to play. Yeah. Any landing you can walk away from. So in my games folder, I do indeed have Gunship 2000 AGA installed. Let's fire it up. Welcome to Gunship 2000 AGA. Not enough free memory. Because, like a few games, the 2 meg chip RAM on the A1200 is not enough when you've got Workbench sitting in the background to also support the game. So unfortunately, and it is unfortunate on this one, we're going to have to go back to my box of dodgy floppies. And for Gunship 2000, we've got 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 discs. We're going to have to boot from floppy.
Target right.
Okay, so let's see how this compares. First and foremost, on this version, you're hearing the engine. On the PC, it didn't really change when you engage the rotor. When I engage the rotor on this, you get the sound of the rotor separate from the sound of the engine, which is nice. Gonna rotate round.
Target left.
Still got all the same sound effects. We've got our gunner helping us out.
Target left.
The graphics look much the same for the most part. And look, the frame rate is nice and smooth. And this is genuinely the stock 020. Look, here's my accelerator card. This is my 030 with the extra RAM on. That's why we couldn't load this off hard drive because we've only got the stock. And this is the stock A1200 at play here on the AGA version of Gunship 2000. Now here's where you'll notice a difference. This is where the frame rate comes from, really. Notice it's dithering on the landscape rather than solid pixels. I mean, that's a trick from the Spectrum days. And I'd argue it didn't really need to be done like that. I don't understand why that's needed. I don't like it. I don't like that. But that's being picky. That's the only thing I don't like about this version, in all honesty. And look, I'm just having a quick fly through a canyon, but on both these versions off camera, I've gone as far as getting into some combat on both versions. That's how far I've gone. And the games feel identical. They're the same game. They're absolutely the same game. Okay, the next game on the list is this one, Frontier Elite 2. Absolutely love it. So, let's get into this. This is the PC version, because that's what I played first. And by this time, I definitely had a sound card. So let's do it. We'll go AdLib/Sound Blaster compatible. Roll the intro. Because that's all any Amiga user ever plays. Notice the texture maps, notice the clouds in the background, but especially in space, the sort of, what's the term? It's gone. Space clouds! It's not what I'm thinking. What are they called? You got the texture mapping in the back here. Are these, this stuff. The gas clouds in space. It's gone from me. It's gone. I can't remember. It'll come back. It might. Why has that word suddenly disappeared? But anyway, when people are comparing Amigas, and especially when people are showing off their accelerators, all they ever do is show the intro. It's not where the battle stops, guys. You have to take off from ROS 151. Because it's on an atmosphere planet, something Elite Dangerous has still failed to do. But anyway, now watch. Let's launch. Done a launch request. It's F7. Okay. Let's get rid of our undercarriage. Making note of noises, stuff like that. And now, watch this. Fly towards some buildings, guys. And see how choppy it is on your on your Amiga 600, 1200, whatever you want to do. How choppy is that compared to this? This is quite choppy. This is quite choppy. But I do love this game. I love this. Absolutely love this game. And this was a PC game for me. Okay, and it is the Amiga version, obviously, that I do have here in the box. And, you know, obviously it's got the discs. So do we need to boot from the disk for this? Well, actually, no. Fortunately, we don't. So all you need to do to install Frontier on a piece on the Amiga 1200 and also other Amigas with a hard drive is you basically just drag the contents of the disk across into a folder, and it is more than happy to play it. There we go. And here's my save files as well, visible there. Cue the music. That orchestral hit. Easily as good as the PC rendition. I'm talking about the music. But now look, again, 020, no accelerator in here. How choppy is this? It's not looking great. It's not the best right now. I've got all the detail on. And of course you don't have the texture mapping in some areas like you do on the PC. This is a 1200. This is the pinnacle of Amigas that a lot of people aim for, unless you're into the big box stuff. I want to love it. I really do. And I mentioned it before, at the end of the day, the demo doesn't show you the whole thing. This is quite loud. Just going to turn it down for this. Let's take off and see what it's like to actually fly. And I'm going to go through through the domes, just to make it fair. Same thing we did on the PC. It's playable. It's playable. I'll have to comment after looking back at a side-by-side comparison in edit, to be honest, as to if this is better or worse. This is with full detail on. That's on high, not very high detail, by the way. Let's do that. And let's take off from lathe. Sound effects are great. Love it. Beautiful. Nebula! That's the word I was looking for when I was trying to describe the space clouds in the PC version. Nebula. But it could either be that or they're trying to depict the centre of the galaxy. But yeah, Nebula. Okay, let's put this up to very high and let's see if the nebula actually appear. I don't think they do. No. So we're missing that, which is a shame because that is a nice detail. And we don't have the texture mapping. Where'd that bulk carrier go? There's no texture mapping. I don't really mind that. The flat shade works for me, it's fine. Let's get a bit closer to this bulk carrier. It's a bit choppy, but it's playable, and that's on very high. I would recommend, without an accelerator, maybe medium. Doesn't make a huge difference, does it? Look, the only time I ever saw the Amiga version in the wild was at my mate James's house on his A600. That's the only time I ever saw an Amiga 600 in the wild. And it was a bit of a slideshow. I was expecting this to be a lot smoother and a lot better. But I'd say, you know, tweaking the settings, it's playable. And I wouldn't have felt I was missing out. Let's put it that way. The lack of texture maps, the lack of space clouds, they're not that big a deal. On to the next one. Most of these games will get videos in their own right, by the way. Far out, that's all or nothing. But this is how my wife and I met, playing Pinball Fantasies in my college room. And one day I'll tell you what type of college it was, so it'll surprise you. But anyway, let's play Pinball Fantasies. And we'll go Puddly Land just to remind us what this is like on the PC on the 386. Is that my third ball? I think so. What I get? 6.7. Now look, for me, there's nothing like the PC version because that was my introduction, and like I said, that's how I got together with my wife, you know. Let's see how the Amiga version compares. Would I have been happy? Okay, so the last game, the game that my wife and I met over playing the PC version, Pinball Fantasies, and this is available for both OCS and AGA chipsets. This is the AGA version installed, because yes, this is hard drive installable, and it's Pinball Fantasies, which to this day remains my wife's. No other pinball games, I've tried a heap, she doesn't like them. Pinball Fantasies is the one. Music sounds the same to me. How does it play? Not very well if you press the wrong button. That's got to be game over. For me, that is indistinguishable from the PC version. Now, I'm sure somebody out there can correct me, but for me, that is indistinguishable from the PC version. Maybe a separate extra video is the wife playing both versions and seeing if she even cares which version she's playing. But what I will say is, I do know that when I throw this back in, this game gives me problems. Not the RAM, but the accelerator. This game gives me some serious problems. Some tables become corrupt, other tables won't load at all, and other tables will play for a bit and then freeze up. So that's a problem, unfortunately. But that's not the comparison we're talking about today. We're talking about the stock A1200. I like this. I'd have been happy with this. I'd have been very happy. And I know for a lot of Amiga users, that's the only version they ever played. And I could see why. So, look, this has been a very specific test, and let's remind ourselves of the objective. This isn't a question of which machine is better, because then we get into technical arguments, and there's no getting away from the fact that the PC is better. All this is about is my personal journey, my alternate timeline. If I hadn't have jumped and bought a used 386 DX PC, but instead stayed with the Amiga and upgraded my A500 to an A1200, so selling the A500 to finance the A1200, would I have been happy? And that's why I've based it on the simplicities of the operating system and the games that I initially played on my first PC. How do the Amiga versions of those same games compare? And based on that alone, I would say that the answer is yes, I would have been happy. I'm ignoring some things when I come to that conclusion. And what I'm ignoring is the fact that to fund an A1200, I would have had to sell my A500 and all the games. Therefore, I would have been started with 0 games, which is what I did to go to the PC. So I'm ignoring the economics. And along with that, I'm going to say this. To be completely happy, it would have needed a RAM upgrade, 100%. So that you can play games, because it's such an improvement being able to play games off hard drive straight out of Workbench. And if I'm really honest, and this would be no way in my budget back in the day, but it needs an accelerator. This, unfortunately, I'm going to say it, this needed to come with 4 meg of RAM at least, and with an 030, not an 020. Once you get up to that 030, it really is a sweet spot and turns this into such a formidable machine. And I would say with the 030 in there and the extra RAM, then heck yeah, that is a very comparable machine to a used 386 in terms of enjoyment of the platform and of the games. That's my conclusion. You may not agree, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, if I had gone one, it would have kept me in the Amiga for a good few years to come. Maybe one or two. Maybe one or two. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.